guys so much for coming here and for supporting TEDx. I'm a little bit of a TEDx junkie, and so I love being here, getting to witness everybody else's talks, but it doesn't happen without you, so please give yourselves a big round of applause as well. I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. It seemed like such a big question that people asked at a really early age, like you had to know, and you had to somehow follow that one path. The story today that I'll be sharing with you is how I did not know at all and how I figured it out. And how along the path to figuring it out, I discovered that there were some essential questions that helped me find my right path, use my talents to do what I love, and overcome big obstacles that come with pursuing dreams. The first big question and the title of the talk, this question just comes back to me over and over again. Anytime I want to expand my horizons or see where I can go next, I ask myself, what would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? But really, it's what would you attempt if it would be kind of cool to succeed? My big answer to that question when I was a teenager was I would be a Broadway star. The path, of course, from Michigan in high school to Broadway star in New York City is a pretty big one. And so I had decided that I was actually going to only audition for lead roles. Now, I'd had some success prior to that, playing a few lead roles in musicals through schools and community productions. But I had decided I was only going to audition for lead roles, and that when you audition for lead roles, you're going to have to be okay with some amount of rejection. You're not always going to be the right fit for the part, especially if it's a male role and you're a female. Though don't count that out, because I was offered a male role. And so in that process, I learned that sometimes rejection is actually an opportunity. Sometimes that rejection actually creates the space to try again, to attempt over and over again. And I had decided that it was far better to not receive one lead role so that I had more time to audition for more lead roles, meet more directors, network with more people producing plays, and try out more audition material and get even more feedback on my audition material than it was to play a small role for a bunch of months when I felt like I really wasn't getting closer to my goal. Now, maybe you don't want to be a Broadway star. Very few people do. But maybe you want a really cool career, or you want a job that's just a little further ahead than what you think you're qualified for, or maybe you need investors for funding for your startup. The same techniques can apply to you. Now, once I discovered that it was possible to play some lead roles, and I had played quite a few by the end of high school, I learned that actually I did not want to be a Broadway star. You see, just the act of attempting and then actually getting some amount of success, though it wasn't the big goal, taught me what I needed to know. I learned more about myself, and I learned more about what I wanted and what I didn't want. So if you're in the process of attempting, there are things that you're going to learn just by attempting, and that alone can make it worth it. Well, setting my Broadway dreams aside, my next big goal out of high school was to make a good living, buy all the clothes I wanted, live in the place I wanted, have a car, go out all the time, have fun. And so I decided to pursue a degree and a career in marketing and management. I still really did not know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And if I'm honest, today it's still in question. But at the time, I started to acquire the financial success that I was looking for. I had enough money to buy the things I wanted, but something was missing. You see, every day was a little more draining, and I couldn't figure it out. I had everything that I wanted. I had the downtown apartment I wanted. I had the life I wanted. I had plenty of free time. I was going to the gym all the time, but something was missing, and I realized that I didn't quite know what was energizing me. When you find yourself in a place of being drained by the work that you're doing or by the path that you're on, you need to ask yourself, what energizes you. It's by digging into what really energizes you that will help fuel you to the next path. For me, I had to dig really far back and find out what energized me before I forgot what energy felt like. And for me, it was music. And I also felt like in my business, marketing, management career, I wasn't really making a difference. Turns out that all of those auditions paid off as a salesperson, and I had really great sales because I was able to put myself on the spot and sell someone else's story. However, when it came to feeling good about my own story, I was still a little lost. And so when I took the music that had once energized me and combined it with wanting to make a difference and help others, it led me to the path of music education, actually here at Oakland University. Now, pursuing that path would mean actually letting go of a lot of the things that I felt very comfortable with. Letting go with a really great salary, letting go of the cool downtown apartment, trading it in for a dorm room here, letting go of all sorts of luxuries and amenities that I had acquired for myself in order to just have a little more energy and a little more interest in my own life and what I was doing. And so sometimes you have to kind of let go of a lot of comforts in order to have more of what your soul is asking for. And turns out every day was far more challenging. I had challenging classes, and I had to work a couple part-time jobs instead of one job that was really great pay. And in the end, it was all worth it because every day was more energizing. It was worth more to me to spend 4 more years learning a new program in something I loved than spend 1 year doing something that drained me. And when you look at the scope of a life, 4 years isn't a lot of time at all. It's something that you can, foresee the future of. Well, as I'm nearing the end of my music education, I'm really loving the work that I'm doing. I'm enjoying working in the schools. I love the student teaching I'm doing. But there's something about working in the schools that isn't quite jiving with me. As many of us know, the practice of studying the degree that we want in college is quite different than actually pursuing it in the real world. And the problems that I was solving as a music educator weren't quite the same problems that I was solving in the classroom. The classroom program that we have here is fabulous. It was my own understanding of what that was. And around the same time, as I was finishing college here, I would see my classmates' recital posters in the hallway. They put them up to let you know when to attend their recital, to see them perform. And instead of writing down the dates and times of their recitals, I was actually looking at the photos, being like, oh, I could really give them a better headshot. Or, I think I could really envision a really cool poster for them. And so I started offering photography to my friends as a way to help them. I felt like, I think I know something about photography. It was something I had been doing all along, just for myself. I hadn't really shared it with anybody until I had a chance to offer it to my friends in college. And as it turns out, they ended up sharing my work with other people as well. And when those people saw my work, they started to ask me to photograph for them, which was how all of that started. So as I was finishing up music education and kind of doing photography on the side, but not considering it a career at all, it was still just a hobby, I was looking at, maybe I can do this in the summer or maybe in the evenings, combine it with teaching, it'll be great. And then I was faced with moving to another state, applying to new schools for a position, or I could spend the summer working on building a business in photography. And when I approached that decision, I had to ask myself, what problems do you love to solve? Because no matter what path we're on, there's going to be a set of problems that we have to solve. And either we can solve those problems easily and move forward, or those problems weigh on us and hold us back and make us feel like we aren't really doing very well. And the problems that happened in the classroom weren't quite my favorite problems to solve, but the problems that were happening in photography of an entrepreneurial nature, of a marketing nature, were things I already had some familiarity with and I loved doing. It gave me some success, it made me feel accomplished, and it turns out that people liked my photos as well. Awesome. So I decided to pursue photography. Now, this has been an amazing journey for the last 10 years as a photographer. However, about 8 years in, I was asked to pursue another dream of mine, to travel the world for 8 months. Now, if you have ever tried to build a business or do something you love, and you're being asked to then potentially stop doing it in order to do something else you love, that's a big, weighty decision right there. Do I pursue this, or do I pursue this? And at the time, I had been spending so much time investing in my business that all I could see were all the bills that would need to be paid while I was away, and I wasn't sure how I was going to earn a living while traveling. And at that point, the critical question as to what dream I would follow became, what would you choose if money weren't a factor? Too often, we let money make our decisions. And yes, there are times when we need that, but if you have a big dream and the only thing standing in the way is your fear of money, then there might be a reason to reconsider. And so, for me, when I asked that question, it was very obvious that I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to travel the world so badly. It was something I thought you needed millions of dollars to do, or you needed a huge savings account, or you need tons of resources. But it turns out that in order to travel the world, I actually needed less. And so once again, I actually decided to end my photography studio lease, not knowing exactly how long I would need to save up money or how long I would need to stop paying rent in order to save for the travel. Sold off my studio furnishings in order to save money, even sold off a car and offered to let other people live in my apartment while I was gone. All of that helped make it possible. And turns out, 8 months traveling the world is a fabulous thing. And as you can imagine, so many adventures that just help you learn so much more about yourself and about the world in general. And when I returned, I still had clients. They still came back to me. I still had a job for myself. So if you ever have any big, big, scary dreams, please hear this story and know that it is possible to pursue them. I have one last question to leave you with. And actually, Amy asked it earlier. What small step can you take today to get closer to one of your dreams? One of my big dreams now is to help inspire other people to pursue their dreams. And standing here, sharing my story with you, is just one of those ways. But it didn't start here. It started with an email and writing a proposal and submitting a proposal, and then freaking out that it was accepted, and then standing here in front of you. So what would you attempt if you knew you could not fail?